Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the regional championship coverage of Vancouver here. Sierra joined here by Adam Doricott. Round 14 ahead of us, and the extra special treat of 2 round 14s.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a little bit of extra time, right? Like, the tournament was absolutely flying through this morning. So thank you very much for our fantastic tournament organizers for keeping all of that above board and making sure that we hurtle towards our top 8.
That's the exciting one, because then it's just like, wait, like this is a history then being written for this player right here, right now. But these players already a little bit of history written about them, and now as we have them on stage almost ready to go, we can start talking a bit more about the teams. And one of these teams, definitely something we need to be talking about.
Yeah, I mean, do we need to hit the Discord chat and ask if anyone knows anything about Aaron Zheng? See if anyone's got some information on
Aaron, who I feel like I've heard that name before once or twice.
But he is going up against last year's finalist in Emerzian, right? And like, honestly, Zach's team is so unique and so exciting. So many things to dive into there. Things I wasn't expecting to see this weekend. I'm going to be honest. I think
all of it?
I'm trying to justify. Scarlet was kind of on the up, so like I can give him that one. But apart from that, yeah. I think we're in a unique position. That is going to be Scarlet, Belly Bolt, Gastrodon, the Iron Valiant, Meowscarada, like the Series 1 staple that we've all forgotten about, and he's like, I'm still going to throw it on. And then finishing it up with the Iron Moth.
Hey, if we're not going to see a Slitherwing, we might as well see an Iron Moth out here, you know?
It's so close, and it frustrates me every event, because like, I see a Volcarona, I see an Iron Moth, I'm like, just one of you bring the Slitherwing. And
one of you be brave enough, especially too, if we're running what Zach's running here. I mean, this whole team, because yeah, Scarlet has been on the up and up, but even when we get to see it on other teams, we're still like, oh, look at the Scarlet, that's a really cool component. So the fact that that's the most normal part of Zach's team is so cool. And the 10-3 record, I mean, this is a team that I just did not expect to see at this point in the tournament. So that's going to be so much fun to see how it's operating with all these different things, especially too with this Belly Bolt, because it is a Pokemon that a couple people actually did pull up to this event with. I mean, it hasn't quite made that run, but there's actually kind of a lot of cool concepts about it on paper that obviously Zach is playing to quite well.
I'm trying to get a read on Aaron as they exchange team sheets, and I'm trying to look at Aaron and see what he's thinking as he reads like the Belly Bolt. It's like, interesting. He's playing it cool. I'll give him credit for that one. But definitely at times I'm like, Aaron, like, were you expecting the Belly Bolt? Like, but you know, to his credit, Aaron obviously explores so many teams. You know, as he talks about the game so much. Like, he's definitely looked at a lot of stuff. I just don't know if he took Belly Bolt Iron Valiant as seriously as maybe some of the other teams in preparation. His team does have a little bit of kind of variety to it. The Baxcalibur, which has been rising in popularity, I think is really important there. I really like Brute Bonnet. I think that's a Pokemon that not enough people are experimenting. But, you know, we talked about it yesterday. How many Paradox Pokemon is too many? That is going to be a sum total of 4 Paradox Pokemon for Aaron Zheng.
We were talking about too, like, had we seen it? Well, now, yes. And I mean, this is just like all the super strong Pokemon, and then round out with that Talonflame. I mean, Talonflame, of course, a premium Tailwind user, and depending on the person, a premium Will-O-Wisp user to be able to shut options down. So really nice paired up with these Paradoxes to make sure that you have the speed over on your side. And of course, the Baxcalibur, just some great coverage overall. We got to see yesterday that it was doing pretty well. It's definitely a great Pokemon, but we'll have to see if it can stand up to everything Zach's throwing at it. Starting off, it will be that infamous core of the Talonflame and the Great Tusk, going up against the not so infamous core here of the Belly Bolt and Iron Valiant.
What is going on? I don't know. Let's be honest. Like,
round 14 here in Vancouver, and we're seeing a Belly Bolt.
Round 14, full send. Belly Bolt, Iron Valiant on the side of Zach Emerzian versus, to be honest, the boring and standard Talonflame Great Tusk on the side of Aaron Zheng. But the matchup definitely feeling good for Aaron here. Great Tusk is going to be able to cause so many problems into that Belly Bolt based on the typing that it's got. And it's really up to Iron Valiant here, I think, to start causing problems. For those of you not well versed in the Iron Valiant, it's fast, it does a lot of damage, and it's very fighting type, so it's got a decent amount of coverage across the board. It's definitely one of the more unique types. A strange futuristic hybrid of Gardevoir and Gallade, which is very exciting. But we are committing to the bid. hit with the Belly Bolt by going with the Flying Terror here. Obviously, Aaron knows about it, and let's see if he's fallen for it.
It's so nice to make sure that anything that Great Tusk is throwing at you is not going to do anything, especially now with Protect on the Iron Valiant as well. Great Tusk also going for Protect, and this gives way for a very free potential of a Tailwind or something from the Talonflame, but instead it will be the Brave Bird trying to hit for a super effective attack into the Iron Valiant. Now it's Thunderbolt being able to fire back. That is enough for a one-hit KO.
All right, Belly Bolt opens up the set by taking an easy knockout on the Talonflame. Very heads-up play there from, I think, the side of Zach Emerzian, being like, okay, this is a fighting type. This Iron Valiant could easily get knocked out by this Talonflame. You know what? I'm just going to protect it for this turn. Aaron goes, completely commits to it, says, you know what, I'm just going to deal with that. You know, you need to deal with it with something nice and fast. The Talonflame is one of the fastest Pokemon available as well. But, you know, just absolutely taking the bait, going into the Protect, and Zach gets an early knockout with that Belly Bolt, just taking an easy knockout on the not so bulky side of things with the Talonflame. So showing off exactly what it can do. And now it's also in a really safe position from this Great Tusk, right? Like Great Tusk wants to headlong rush into it, but not going to be afforded that opportunity. Now Belly Bolt is the flying type.
At this point, though, the Iron Bundle making its way onto the field. This can also be a way of going for some sort of speed control, having the Icy Wind as well. The Iron Bundle, obviously very fast, is going to be having that booster energy to capitalize just a little bit more, but of course, not being able to get that Talonflame set up with the Tailwind and losing right away definitely hurts considering the, you know, Talon Tusk core that we have.
Yeah, wasn't able to land that combination of Tailwind and a big attack from the Great Tusk. Did go for the Brave Bird, but did fall a little bit short. So it is going to be time for Terastallization from Aaron's side of the field. I think he has to try and match things up a little bit. And it's going to be the Great Tusk that we are seeing. And what a shock. It's a ground type.
I mean, Great Tusk, it is all about damage, so not too surprised to be able to see that ground crystallization coming out at this point. The Icy Wind, super effective hit now onto the flying type Belly Bolt, but of course what is impactful is going to be that speed drop. Getting hit though, that is going to be the Electromorphous getting hit now into the Belly Bolt. That is going to double the next electric move that it uses. Headlong Rush into the Iron Valiant. That will be the KO here, and now the Belly Bolt will have a chance to respond.
Yeah, I think that's really big. Dealing with the Iron Valiant that would be able to just deal with that Iron Bundle in return with the Aura Sphere would be huge. But, you know, you're still a water type. You have been given the benefit of Electromorphosis. That does mean that you're getting more damage out of it. And even though it probably didn't need it, it's nice to just see a huge attack take down this Iron Bundle. So that is now, just for those keeping score at home, 2 knockouts for the Belly Bolt. A Pokemon that maybe we need to start taking a little more seriously.
That's definitely 2 more KOs than I expected to see a Belly Bolt be able to do at this point of the competition. But definitely really fun to see. On Aaron's side, it will be the Excalibur as the 4th Pokemon. Aaron down to 2 at this stage is Meowscarada. I mean, now that Pokemon that we talked about being more or less left behind in Series 1, but of course there was a reason that it was really, really strong in the first place. I mean, being able to have something like the always critical hit, Flower Trick, is just so nice. And of course, being able to have the same type attack bonus, Sucker Punch, and that priority is really nice to be able to break Sash, be able to clean up KOs.
I think it might be time for the Belly Bolt to take a step back, right? Facing down the Excalibur after the flying terror is going to be a little bit tricky. So I think maybe Belly Bolt's up for being able to cause those problems. But Meowscarada coming in will be able to help out very much against the Great Tusk. We'll be able to, of course, you know, hit that super effectively at some point. But for now, it doesn't seem to be the focal point, as Zach, you know, didn't target it down with the Meowscarada as we were watching lock in his moves.
Now, which is nice because it did, in fact, go for the Protect. So the knockoff, getting rid of the Assault Vest over on the Excalibur will be that play before the Icicle Crash, bringing Meowscarada down to its Sash, just that 1 HP left. Now, the Belly Bolt, it would have been that Terra Blast, but hitting into the Protect this time around. Yeah,
not able to get that big damage down onto the Great Tusk, and not able to knock out the Excalibur either, so the knockoff wasn't able to get exactly what it needed there. You know, did, of course, take the item away, but I don't think the item is of huge importance in this particular matchup, right? It's like, you know, what is the Assault Vest getting you here? Well, it's keeping you safe from the belly bolt, I guess, but like the belly bolt isn't hitting you super effectively anyway, so a little bit of damage going down. Probably didn't want to waste that Terra Blast into the Protect, but now you know the Great Tusk shouldn't Protect once again, so your Meowscarada on its Focus Sash will be able to potentially just throw something like a Flower Trick at it and then cause problems. Just, you know, you got a 2v1 against the single target option from the side of the Baxcalibur. It's going to be Sucker Punch though.
Yeah, as the Great Tusk will be able to go now with the Headlong Rush for that really strong 1 HP into the Meowscarada to be picking up that KO. Of course, there will be the defense and special defense drop from it now. And it will be the Icicle Crash next. Going into this, this will be a super effective hit with that Terastallization of the flying type. So the Belly Bolt is also going to be felt. That's a double KO for Aaron.
Yeah, that's a huge turn for Aaron, and that is kind of the result of the previous turn, right? It's like that big Protect over on the side of the Great Tusk has now become a problem. Not getting rid of that Baxcalibur means the Baxcalibur was able to comfortably deal with this flying type Bellibolt and start causing problems that way. So it's now Ceruledge versus Great Tusk Baxcalibur, and yeah, you know, no spread moves on the side of Ceruledge. Maybe able to get one of them, but you have to imagine that the other one is just going to be able to fire back and cause problems that way, especially Ceruledge, no access to be able to Terastallize, is going to be stuck in its current typing, not able to mix that one up. Even though looking at it, I don't think its typing would have helped, you know, in this instance. But you've got two Pokemon that can very comfortably hit you super effectively.
Yeah, and even though Aaron had early KOs taken against him, the Talonflame not being able to contribute much, just the Pokemon advantage at this stage and the fact that there is the no spread capability. Great Tusk just going for the Protect this time around. So the Baxcalibur looking to try and deal some damage, but the Ceruledge, of course, Protect. A way to scout things out, a way to see what is going on, as it would be the Earthquake. So now the Baxcalibur won't be able to go for that next turn unless you want to hit your own Great Tusk.
I mean, as long as you're confident in getting the knockout, it definitely changes the numbers. But it's still, you know, a decent way to go on this Ceruledge. Still probably needs to just make sure of it. So, I mean, the Ceruledge is in a tough spot, right? It's got Shadow Sneak, which would avoid it going second, you know, against something like the Great Tusk, but it's definitely going to be a stretch for the knockout without something like the Swords Dance set up. I do think that Bellibolt, as soon as it took off the pressure from attacking into the Protect there, has now become a bit of a problem.
At this point, too, Zach, really thinking over the options. Is there the chance at survival? Is there a double Protect? Do I just go for an attack and see what happens? Bringing this right down to the wire, looking like just attack to see what can happen. The Shadow Sneak, of course, with that priority. Not going to be enough to take down the Great Tusk, though. It's going to be just down to a sliver of health. And now a Headlong Rush. That is going to be the super effective hit to take Ceruledge down for Aaron to take the first match.
Yeah, that was dangerously close. The Life Orb pushing it so close, doing about 40% there with that Shadow Sneak, but not enough to get the knockout. Means an easy Headlong Rush from Aaron Zheng will secure him the game number 1 in this set.
Really close, though, and I mean, really goes to show just the strength of the Pokemon that Aaron has on his team. Like, yeah, there is these 4 Paradox, there's this Baxcalibur. There's a reason that we get to see these Pokemon keep popping up, though, and it's because of just how incredible they are, the amount of damage they're able to do, and even just like the speed tiers. Like the Great Tusk, I mean, even just that survival just at the end there is just huge for being able to fire off. So there's a reason that we get to see the things on Aaron's side a little bit more often than Zach's, but that Bellibolt, like, that was incredible. Just kind of suffering a little bit too from the, oh, once you Terastallize, you're kind of stuck. So it was nice when you're going up against the Great Tusk. Hurts a little bit when you're going up against the Icicle Crash from the Baxcalibur.
And once again, somebody's Terastallization that comes back to haunt them, right? It's like they win against the Great Tusk, but they lose very comfortably to the Baxcalibur as a result of it. So certainly something to think about coming into game number 2. The other thing I'd like to see kind of considered from the side of Zach is getting more value out of this Iron Valiant. Like, it's such a unique pick, it's such a great choice, but it just got targeted down so hard in that game number 1, and, you know, did get knocked out pretty immediately as soon as that Great Tusk came to the fore. So definitely something to mull over, I think, as he goes into game 2. I think the Bellibolt showed why it's a part of the team, right? Like, it took a hit and fired back after getting the Electromorphosis set up. But, you know, it got stuck in a really tough position. That turn where it just attacked into the protecting Great Tusk, that feels like the point where I'm like, okay, now the belly bolt has let up a little bit too much and is definitely, you know, not able to be as impactful as may be required. So be curious to see what kind of changes Zheng makes going into game number 2. I do think the Scarlet was in a really bad position at the end as well. Like, I don't particularly like, I mean, the life orb definitely helped, but it felt like, you know, if you're playing Scarlet, I think you got to bring a little bit earlier maybe, or, you know, it's got to be in like a fair fight, which it just absolutely wasn't.
Yeah, because Scarlet can definitely be such a strong option, but it's that kind of awkward typing that it's not really faring well against Aaron's team that has this Great Tusk as a standout. So a little bit of just a tough spot at the end heading into this game 2. Adjustment coming out from Aaron, leading that Excalibur, but one from both sides. It's going to be that Gastrodon to start things off with the Belly Bolt.
Yeah, I mean, the Gastrodon definitely mixes things up a little bit here. It does show, you know, some different options. I think the Gastrodon isn't going to apply very much pressure like right off the bat. Like, yes, it can obviously hit super effectively onto like the Talonflame with Muddy Water and stuff, but honestly this Excalibur feels super safe right now. I don't see an easy world where this Excalibur is able to be shut down like immediately by the combination of Belly Bolt and Gastrodon. Just type-wise, it doesn't quite line up, while, you know, in the other side of it, Excalibur can just start hurting you like really, really bad.
Yeah, there's a couple of Excalibur sets that we see that is a little bit more the setup variety. This one is not, but probably more so than trained in an aspect that can do that damage right away. And Talonflame looking to follow up, also going to be starting off damage, that Flare Blitz into the Belly Bolt. That'll be the burn as well, so a little bit of damage chipped away each time around. Though if Belly Bolt can get an attack off this turn, it is going to be able to do double that electric type damage. Has to survive the Icicle Crash though. It will be able to, bringing it down decently low, but Zach will have a chance to fire back with both Pokemon Earth Power. As you said, nothing hits into the Excalibur too great. A special defense drop though can be fantastic.
Yeah, Parabolic Charge, though, going across the field, hitting both Pokemon on his opponent's side and not super effective on the side of not able to hit the Gastrodon, right? Because it's a ground type. So it does get to heal up after that as well. And Belly Bolt is going to be sticking around for a little bit longer. This is now, you know, the collective healing across the board. That burn from the Flare Blitz is going to help at reducing that, but obviously after the Electromorphosis, that is a very easy knockout onto the side of the Talonflame, and a decent little chunk, honestly, on this Excalibur, which he was going to struggle against. The only thing I will say here is, like, the Excalibur is holding that Assault Vest. It was revealed and confirmed with the knockoff as well. So looking down 2 special attackers, feeling pretty good right now. This Iron Bundle brings kind of a very interesting choice to make. It's like, okay, you have to go with an Ice type attack. You're looking at a Gastrodon, so it's like screaming Freeze Dry. But in exchange, the Belly Bolt's probably just going to get you at some point, and you know, probably feels confident to just Parabolic Charge once again, get a knockout there, and keep chipping down this Excalibur. So this Belly Bolt showing like exactly why people are bringing it to these tournaments.
Yeah, too, that paired up so nicely with the Gastrodon. I mean, sure, another Pokemon is going to be the fastest thing, but being able to have that move that can hit everything, but the Gastrodon being immune, of course, is certainly nice, but then leaves a weird position, too, when you are staring down the, you know, choices of Terastallization and stuff. But speaking of Terastallization, it'll be Aaron to go for the first one. It'll be the Excalibur, and that'll be the ground type. So anything that the Belly Bolt throws at it in terms of electric type moves is now going to be null and void. Yeah,
that is a big change up in this turn. Being able to just go ground type, I mean, even that chip damage from the Parabolic Charge isn't going to be able to add up. You know, this team kind of wants to play like this pairing. As soon as you get rid of the Gastrodon, I think Parabolic Charge becomes not an option. And now, you know, the Iron Bundle protecting as well. I mean, this is the end for Belly Bolt, but it was just a super safe turn because it's like, I don't know what this Gastrodon can do in exchange.
It will be the Earth Power from the Gastrodon, yet again, not doing the most of damage, though notably as well at this point, the Excalibur can be weak to the Gastrodon with something more so like the Muddy Water variety. But now with the Belly Bolt down, we get a little peek. We have the Iron Valiant and the Meowscarada in the back. The Iron Valiant, we didn't really get to see really anything from it in this game 1, so seeing it now hitting the field in game 2. What can it do?
Yeah, it got great tusked in game number 1 and was forced into an early protect by the side of that Talonflame. But now the Talonflame's gone, maybe this is time for Iron Valiant to show what it can do. Of course, this is the special attacking type. You know, if Baxcalibur was healthier, I'd say that Assault Vest is more impactful. But just the raw amount of damage an Iron Valiant can do with its preposterously high stats should be enough to clean up either of these Pokemon on that side of the field. My big concern, it's like if you maybe target the wrong way, if you throw something into a Protect, which would have to be the Iron Bundle in potentially the next turn, you know, you could cause problems. It's like, okay, Iron Bundle could just try once again with the Icy Wind and just Icy Wind this Iron Valiant into a position that at some point it just gets caught really, really short. So a lot of pressure on this turn, I think, for Zach to be able to kind of buy his way back into the game and really, you know, swing us towards that game 3.
And with that pressure on the line, Terrestrialization now will be this Iron Valiant. That will be the Steel Terratite at this point. Something to try and make sure it has a little bit more activity going through things. It'll be the Freeze Dry going into the Gastrodon, though. Doesn't appreciate that whatsoever. That is going to be taken down. So it's only going to be the Iron Valiant standing through this turn. The Aura Sphere done back to the Iron Bundle, though, will be enough to at least be trading these KOs. Yeah,
I mean, you traded a KO, but let's see what the Baxcalibur goes for, and if it is able to cause problems. It is going to be that Glaive Rush. Honestly, my favorite animation in the whole game, I think. Just the pure silliness of it turning upside down and going for it that way, but not able to get the knockout because it is, of course, not very effective thanks to that Terra typing on the side of you know, the Iron Valiant. So that Steel type certainly causing problems. We're now down to you know, the last 2 for both of these trainers. It's going to be a Baxcalibur Great Tusk angle once again for Aaron Zheng, and then Iron Valiant Meowscarada. So this is all about the damage right now.
Yeah, all of these Pokemon can hit for so much damage, so I feel like it... 1-2 more turns, we'll figure out real quick how this is going to go down, as this is the reason our tournament is going so fast at this stage in the competition. Meowscarada too, I mean, staring down both of these ground-type Pokemon. It will be the Sucker Punch instead, though, considering how low the Baxcalibur was. That will be able to bring Aaron down to just this one Pokemon.
Well, you're guaranteed a knockout on the Baxcalibur, right? You know how much Sucker Punch does, and you know it can't protect or use any moves that aren't attacks due to the set. You can also see that confirmed for you on the side of the open team sheet. So easy Sucker Punches now we see, but Great Tusk is going to get caught, is going to, you know, have its special attack lowered. Probably not the biggest concern. It's going to be Ice Spinner, but this Meowscarada has, it has access to the Focus Sash still. So at this point, I mean, you know, the Great Tusk is probably going to get caught short in this following turn, and we're going to game 3.
Yeah, not even needing the Sash at that point either. Now, knowing that Ice Spinner is not going to be enough to just bring it down, though it does deal a considerable amount of damage, but great adjustments there coming out from Zach. I mean, it looked weird a little bit at the beginning with this Bellabolt and this Gastrodon facing down the Baxcalibur. Like, okay, well, these Pokemon don't fare well into the Baxcalibur, but Baxcalibur, then the Talonflame just going down right away, opened up that window for Zach to have that endgame. Yeah,
I mean, that endgame really worked as well with the Meowscarada. Meowscarada was big there, being able to save that Sucker Punch for, you know, a time that it was needed, just shut down that Baxcalibur after it had been worn down by some of the earlier options. So we're going to game 3 here. We've got this wild team from Zach Emerzian against this, you know, kind of more standard build from Aaron Zheng. Definitely feels like, you know, a matchup that is going to determine not just the fate of their tournament, right? But like, I think if you win this one, either trainer will be feeling real good going into top 8.
Yeah, especially sitting this 10-3 record. This is the chance to be able to get into this top 8, all being down to this game 3. And then it's so interesting too, because now when you win this game 2, it leaves your opponent in a weird thing for this game 3, because now Aaron knows that, yes, there is this Gastrodon adjustment going on in game 2. Sure, Gastrodon wasn't doing the most damage, but it was consistent as well. It would just kind of left the way for the Iron Valiant to actually do something in this end game, as opposed to being taken down pretty early when it was in the lead. So now Aaron has to be thinking, he did adjust in the game 2 as well, leading with that Baxcalibur as opposed to the Great Tusk. But you have to think then, okay, I could face down against this Gastrodon. Bellabolt has this Parabolic Charge, can hit everything. How do I want to switch things up?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a much better execution of the Iron Valiant. That was the big thing, right? It's like, it wasn't forced to protect, and it wasn't just caught by Icy Wind Headlong Rush in the first turn it was on the field. So it just really, like, felt like a lot better play to just be able to get around it. And I think the belly bolt as well, you know, did a little bit more. The parabolic charge kept it around. It tanked up a couple more attacks as well. So maybe Aaron, you know, looking back on that game, it's like, okay, well, get the Great Tusk in earlier, because the Great Tusk, by the time it showed up, it was like a little bit too late, right? Like it was not in the best position, you know, and it just got punished, particularly because it's like the Great Tusk, you know, can only hit one thing at a time, and Zach was able to just go, okay, no, I'm going to deal with the Bat-Scalibur this time. I'll drop you down to your focus sash, and it's, you know, let's go to game 3.
As well, leading that Great Tusk, it kind of puts this Belly Bolt in a weird position because you know that there is going to be that potential of this headlong rush that can hit into you. Of course, there is the Ice Spinner if the Belly Bolt does decide to go for that flying type terrestrialization. The Great Tusk does still have a way to be able to hit it at some point, but it kind of then forces Zach into a position like, do I, don't I? Because in that game 1, when the Belly Bolt did go into that flying type terrestrialization to avoid a ground type move from the Great Tusk, it was a terrestrialization that later on in the match didn't end up working too well. So
yeah, I mean, not terrestrializing on that side, you know, could be the way to go. But you know, a little more focused on Aaron's side. Definitely, it was interesting to see the Bat-Scalibur take the ground type terror typing. That is something that has been certainly, you know, a little bit more unique. I think the Great Tusk did really well as the ground type, just doing ridiculous amounts of damage with the headlong rush. So the Bat-Scalibur kind of put itself in an awkward position, but it made sense at the time, right? It's like you really had to, you know, avoid the damage from that belly bolt, which was getting huge parabolic charges off. So definitely added up, but did make it a little bit easier, I'd say, for some of these options to try and knock you out. We are in team select for game number 3 though, and both these trainers with essentially their tournament life on the line right now. It's like whoever loses this is dropping to 10-4, which is likely going to make you miss, I believe, when we've done the numbers. This is the winning in for top 8, so you got to learn everything you can from games 1 and 2. Take it to game 3.
See, I have the big question mark about the Talonflame going into the game 3, because game 1 it hit into a protect and then proceeded to get KO'd. Game 2 it did hit the Flare Blitz and do some damage into the Belly Bolt, but then it was KO'd by the Belly Bolt. The Belly Bolt was able to heal up with a parabolic charge, and the Talonflame went down. Facing off against the Belly Bolt, the Talonflame, sure, it's doing a chunk of damage, but it's already right out of the gate. Aaron is down a Pokemon and wasn't able to even pick up the KO onto the Belly Bolt. So heading into this game 3, will we see it? Instead, if it's in the back or it's not here at all, it'll be the Bat-Scalibur in the Iron Bundle facing off against the Belly Bolt and the Gastrodon, the same lead that Zach went for in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, the Belly Bolt Gastrodon just makes sense, right? Like, you're going to get hit, you're going to be able to, you know, activate the Electromorphosis, and then you're going to be able to start knocking stuff out with the Parabolic Charge as well. I mean, the Iron Bundle is not going to appreciate it. The Bat-Scalibur, if it doesn't go ground type, isn't going to appreciate it. It's going to start to add up as well. So certainly a lot. And like Parabolic Charge, the way you have to play it just reminds me of some of these like discharge teams, right? It's like you have to have the ground type next to it. And that's why I like this adaptation from Aaron. It's like, okay, you've got the ground type. You know, looking at his team, it's going to be the Gastrodon. So just bring the Iron Bundle and you can immediately take that strategy away just by freeze-drying the Gastrodon. I don't think there's any way that the Gastrodon could really take that. So it definitely makes a lot of sense in this one. We'll see where the Terrestrialization comes through in this turn. It is going to be an early one from the side of Aaron Zheng. And yeah, this ground type makes a lot of sense. Don't take any chip damage from the Parabolic Charge and then start causing problems that way.
Especially, too, we've gotten to see that there is that coverage in Earthquake and the potential to protect. So the Iron Bundle staying nice and safe. So a little bit of a maybe tale of what's to come. It will be that Earthquake, and no terrestrialization onto the Belly Bolt means that it will be taking this super effective hit from the Bat-Scalibur at this point, being able to bring it down real low to that 50 health. It will set off the Electromorphous, but if it is a Parabolic Charge, well, it's not going to be doing anything this turn. Earth Power not doing anything either, hitting into this Iron Bundle. So overall, to start things off, great turn coming up from Aaron. Yeah,
that's actually a really bad turn for Zach, not being able to get any damage down on that side of the field into the Protect and the ground typing. That Parabolic Charge looks so good after the Electromorphosis gets set up, but not getting any of that, getting dropped down to, you know, just under a quarter of your health as well. You're going to be pretty easy to knock out, and that just means you're not going to get the opportunity to potentially Parabolic Charge and take those knockouts. So certainly a little bit more thinking to do on the side of Zach, and put himself at definitely a disadvantage. As Gastrodon's going to be easy to get knocked out with the damage from the Earthquake and the follow-up Freeze Dry. Of course, you know, you have to be a little more careful. You know, you don't want to just be Earthquaking, but you've still got plenty of moves that can hit that Belly Bolt and take the knockout quite easily there. So Gastrodon understands that this is not the time for it right now. Probably needs a better partner to be able to play that way, as it's already getting threatened down.
Yeah, so Freeze Dry hitting into the Protect. We already got to see the Gastrodon did not appreciate that before, but Icicle Crush hitting into the Bellable will be able to take that KO before it's able to Volt Switch or anything to try and deal with that Iron Bundle.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing here is, like, the Iron Bundle is threatening down your Gastrodon, so you need a partner that can help it out. So that sounds almost like Zach just saying, you know what, no, I understand, fair enough. You can deal with the Belly Bolt this turn. Let me get a better partner in for this Gastrodon. Something like the Iron Valiant or the Meowscarada that he is deciding between right now.
Yeah, and we got to see an impact that both of them were able to make in Game 2. So either or, I mean, it's definitely going to fare a bit better than a Belly Bolt that's facing off against a ground-type Pokemon. So the Iron Valiant will be the Pokemon of choice.
Yeah, the Iron Valiant coming in here can, of course, threaten down that Iron Bundle nice and easily with the Aura Sphere. That is going to be able to cause a lot of problems. But what does concern me a little bit here is it's like, okay, the Iron Bundle is just still very, very fast, very, very offensive, right? It's like, are you going to be able to shut that down in time to keep your Gastrodon safe? I'm just not sure. And the problem is we've talked about how he needs to threaten down this Iron Bundle. The Baxcalibur is still on the other side of the field.
And the Baxcalibur, I mean, we already got to see the Protect Earthquakes just to hit some damage. So you always have to be aware that there's the possibility there, or the Iron Bundle can just fire off a big Freeze Dry. The Gastrodon taken down at this point. So Aaron now taking 2 KOs in this critical Game 3 to try and get into this top 8. Aura Sphere now will be able to at least trade, but it will leave the Baxcalibur as the last act and last to be able to fire off a strong attack into this Iron Valiant. Will be that Earthquake single target at this point with the ground terrestrialization. Iron Valiant, not necessarily known for its bulk, but will be able to hold on through it well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first knockout that Zach took, and it's now going to be a 3v2. Aaron is sending out that Talonflame, and that Talonflame just threatens the Iron Valiant so much. Honestly, the Talonflame threatens both of this pairing. Kind of the cleanup crew from game number 2 for Zach is now just in so much danger because of the Talonflame. Not only that, the Baxcalibur can just keep hitting that Earthquake because it's next to a flying type. So, you know, if it needs to just get extra damage down, it does feel like Aaron has completely locked this game up, just game planned it, followed the flow chart. This game 3 has looked very comfortable for him so far. It's going to take a lot from Zach to be able to fire back and get himself into the game, really, at this point.
And I love that late game Talonflame. That Belly Bolt is done and gone. The bane of the Talonflame's existent for the first 2 games. So seeing it now in the back, I mean, Talonflame could definitely hit like a truck. It has that priority with that Gale Winds and being able to go for a Brave Bird. There's a couple of different options for it, but Aaron just in an overall fantastic position. There is still terrestrialization on the board, though. It'll be the Steel type coming out from the Iron Valiant, but when you're facing down against something like an Earthquake, that's still yep. hurts at this point. But the Meowscarada not looking to take any of that hurt.
Yeah, you've made that Earthquake now super effective into you by changing that up. This Baxcalibur's getting the boost from the Tailwind as well, so going to be moving pretty promptly. And yeah, this is going to be an easy bit of cleanup onto the Iron Valiant. So just going to be able to land that. Doesn't hit the Talonflame, obviously. And here we go. The Iron Valiant has terrestrialized and is going to get caught out for it. I don't think it even matters that it's terrestrialized. You know, it would have taken enough damage anyway, but an easy knockout on a Pokemon. Maybe we can see why more people leave it in the team building ideas file rather than the team to bring. But now you're looking at a Meowscarada with single target attacks versus 3 from Aaron Zheng. So this adjusted game plan has worked out so nicely for him. Will the Meowscarada even be given an opportunity to move? Not even sure it will.
Yeah, that'll be the Brave Bird from the Talonflame. Bring this Meowscarada down into its Focus Sash at this point. But the Glaive Rush from the Baxcalibur to 1 HP for Aaron Zheng to be moving on into our top 8, taking down Zach Emerzian with the 2-1.
That game was a clean game from Aaron. You know, took down game number 1. Had a bit of an issue in game number 2, wasn't able to close it up in that one, but just learned from game 2 and said, you know what, let's just change the game plan here. Like, I want to get to top 8. I know when Aaron's on a tear at a tournament, he's laser focused on the top prize. So being able to make that must be feeling really good for him. It's nice to see him on the other side of the camera as well, you know, being able to do that. But Zach Emerzian, you know, coming in at 10-4, finishing up the tournament really nicely. You know, not able to repeat some of his performances from last year, but you know, really nice set to, you know, kick off round 14. We do have a little bit more coming up, of course, but that was definitely one I was excited to see.
Yeah, and it is so nice, right? I mean, you can see how much it means to him, too, just at that point. Like, okay, here's the top 8. Here's, like, the first step, especially, too, there's a lot of trainers that are able to go and compete at almost every single event. Of course, Aaron, you know, sometimes sitting on this end of the desk with us, not as many opportunities as some of our other competitors. So, you know, then being able to make the run at the tournament is just a little bit more special at that point.
Yeah, you got to make the most of them, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about it earlier yesterday, you know, you can technically get an invite by finishing top 64 6 times, but when you don't have 6 tournaments to go to, you got to start winning them and putting up the numbers. So definitely notching up some guaranteed championship points. I think everyone we're seeing here in round 14 is going to be picking up some nice championship points. You know, you're guaranteed in that top 32, so you're already a good little chunk of the way there. So just feels good, I think, for a lot of these trainers, but top 8 is going to feel even better for Aaron.
And we still have another round 14 before we get into our top 8. So another opportunity to watch 2 trainers battle it out to try and make their way into top 8 is super, super exciting. I'm loving how today is kind of just laying itself out so far.
Yeah, it's been a really good day so far. I think being able to see more players who are going to make it to top 8 is always nice. We get to obviously focus a little bit more on their team, and then when they do, you know, crop up a little bit later, we can kind of grow from that. So, you know, it's nice to see teams like the Belly Bolt team.
Yeah.
You know, I know that David Kutesh had it in previous events, but didn't get to look at it myself, and now I understand it a little bit more. I'm like, okay, you know, this feels like it needs to be maybe refined a little bit, because yeah, like the Gastrodon was the preferred pairing, so you could parabolic charge, but it's like, is there another way around that? Like, because now the Gastrodon is like, you're forced to bring it, and everyone's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna bring Iron Bundle, freeze dry.
It's weird though, because obviously then when you're seeing Zach at this 10-3 record, like, obviously this was doing super fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, there was 10 games that was won with this team. So it'd be really fun to see just how things are going out. But just being able to hit that parabolic charge and having it next to something like Gastrodon, I feel like the team suffers a little bit from lack of speed. And then against a lot of teams, I'm sure things were surviving and then being able to hit back. The Gastrodon has recover. I mean, the Belleville has recovery options. But unfortunately, when you're going up against 4 Paradox Pokemon, and things are just getting KO'd pretty quickly, those options are now no longer available, and the team will start to suffer just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that this tournament's running is, it kind of speaks to where the format is right now, right? It's like, we're in this place where games are getting finished. A full 3-game set is being finished in about 30 minutes, and that's just because trainers have lent into these Paradox Pokemon. They have lent into these Hyper Offense games, and it's like, you know, if both trainers are playing Hyper Offense, you're going to be lucky for the game to go over 5-6 turns. It's going to be a stretch to get there, so it definitely feels like a much faster paced format, and honestly one of the quickest ones I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, and like there definitely is that Dondozo out there.
Yep.
So there's not to be like, oh, okay, we've completely moved away from some of these Pokemon that really like to have these longer games. Yesterday, we got to see stuff that was more along the lines of like the Clef Key screens. You're not playing a screen games if you're trying to, you know, wrap things up in about 3 turns. So
yeah.
there's definitely the teams out there that are looking to take advantage of a more longer game. It's just when you have these Paradox, there's a lot of people who are being able to find ways to break through that. And I think as well as the format goes on, people are having more secure answers to those Pokemon that like to draw out games. They're being able to hit the Dondozo and take care of that a little more easily, not even let it get into the position where it can start to stall things out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of choices that you have to make when you're team building, and honestly, you know, picking 4 Paradox Pokemon seems like, you know, one of those interesting choices that I'd like to hear more about. So, of course, Aaron is going to be sat down with Gabby to dive into that team, dive into that matchup. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Adam. I'm here with Aaron Cybertron Zheng. Once again, congratulations on making it into top 8. What was your thoughts on your Bellable Iron Valiant matchup? Because I'm sure you prepped for that coming into this tournament.
I looked at Team Preview and I was like, what is happening here? But the reality is I think I actually had a really favorable matchup, and it was really scary, right? Like game 1, I felt like I pretty much had it, but then there was the critical hit onto Great Tusk. I wasn't sure if I was going to survive the Shadow Sneak at -2, managed to survive. Game 2, I figured he would bring Gastrodon, and so I was like, okay, nice. Talon Baxcalibur feels really good. I made the read like he would just go Terra Belly Bolt turn 1. I figured if I called it correctly, I would just win the game immediately. He didn't Terra, and I was like, oh gosh. And then like Talonflame kind of just went down on turn 1, both games 1 and 2, and didn't do anything. And I felt like I had the pieces to win in game 2. And the turn that I think it was like Freeze Dry plus Glaive Rush when Iron Valley and Terra, like I was trying to click Earthquake, but that time, like that turn was just really hard to think through. And so I ended up like essentially timing out and didn't have enough time to like make my decision there, and ended ended up clicking Glaive Rush instead, and I was like, I think if Earthquake comes out there, you just win the game because then it's a 2v1. But game 3, I was like, okay, bundle Valiant feels really good. Late game Talonflame with Brave Bird, amazing into Valiant plus the Meowscarada. I think one thing that was really pivotal for me in that matchup was like baiting out a Terra early to take advantage of. And Excalibur has been so good. Oh my gosh.
I know, the late game Talonflame adjustment in game 3, I think really was just like the perfect piece of the puzzle because it just eliminated the option for your opponent to knock it out early. So I really love that adjustment. But I do want to talk about Excalibur a lot because, you know, like you just mentioned, you're MVP for this match. And I think a Pokemon that a lot of people have been selling short throughout this tournament. And it feels like Terra Ground is just a very comfortable position for it to be, especially on your team.
Yeah, I think Assault Vest plus Terra Ground is like a wild combination. I think one thing that's fun about Excalibur is like, I've even had games where I end up just like side Earthquaking even when I have like Bundle out on the field because Bundle doesn't take that much damage. The reality is like with Terra, Excalibur can tank so many hits and the coverage of Ice, Dragon, and Ground is just so strong in the format right now. And it's funny because you see great Tusk on the team. I think when people look at team preview, they're probably expecting for Talonflame plus Tusk, right? Because that's been like the main archetype. But then like Excalibur is like the secret boss in disguise. It comes out, ground Terras, and just starts clicking Earthquake. And one of the things is, you know, what are ways to get around strong ground type attacks, okay? Like flying type Pokemon. What does Excalibur have? Ice type attacks, so you can cover for that. And that's kind of what ended up happening in that matchup against the Belly Bowl, where it's like, okay, if you fly in Terra, I can just Icicle Crash you. But I will say every time I click Icicle Crash, I feel like my heart stops for a moment because I'm like, please hit, please hit. Unfortunately, I connected on that.
Yeah, very understandable. Did you ever like consider testing loading dice or loaded dice on Excalibur because of that? Or did you just always go, okay, you know, the bulk is more important to me than the guarantee that I'll hit at least this many moves?
Yeah, Assault Vest is just too important. I actually was thinking about Icicle Spear even without loaded dice because I was like, accuracy is just not for me. Like, maybe, you know, but I was like, the damage output is just like, it's just so bad, you know, and it's like if you're not getting 4 or 5 hits and your odds of that aren't amazing, like I'd rather just take like the 90% chance to like get a knockout versus, you know, hitting Icicle Spear multiple times. That's like the trade-off you sometimes have to make in team building, but I actually did think about Icicle Spear even without loaded dice, but I think Assault Vest is too important on this set.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've seen that Excalibur tank a ton of hits, and I imagine throughout your day today, it's probably been a very key component. How have your other Swiss matches gone?
I started 0-2, and so I was feeling really down. I played, you know, the best 2 players in the first 2 rounds essentially, and I just felt a little bit off. I think in both of the first 2 games or first 2 sets, like I had a loss that I feel like easily could have been a win. Like I essentially like threw it on a turn that I couldn't fully think properly. And they were both phenomenal players. It makes me so happy to see like the younger talent in VGC rise up, right? And so like, yeah, they'll both be in top 8. But afterwards, I was like, okay, I probably have to go 3-0. Like maybe 1x4 makes it, but I was like, I'm not going to rely on that. Picked up some steam in round 3. Was up against one of those classic like Palafin, Arcanine, Amoonguss control teams. I think that was when like I feel like I finally unlocked it, like played perfectly almost throughout the entire set. Then it was up against Indy Arm Rouge in the subsequent round. Was down a game and I was like, all right, time to go. But you know, I feel like I live for the pressure. Like I've played this game for so long, and at the end of the day, you know, I've already been pretty happy about the performance, but starting 0-2 and winning 3 to make cut feels really good. At least hopefully, I think I should be good, right?
I think so. I mean, obviously we'll see standings when they come out, but I would feel pretty comfortable if I were you too. Did you do any prep for this last night, or did you just try and get a good night's sleep, daylight savings, be darned?
I feel like as I get older, like I've been playing VGC since 2008, so it's been 15 years. And when I was younger, I was like, I'll stay up all night, I'll think about things. Now I'm like, I need my 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, and if not, I'm gonna be a zombie. And so, especially with daylight savings, I think like last night I had some discipline. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna grab a quick bite and then go to bed. And yeah, I felt pretty well rested, but I still felt like I don't know, it wasn't like my brain wasn't fully active like rounds 1 and 2. Like I was just missing plays that I feel like if I were playing at 100% I could see. But yeah, like that game 3 to finish that set felt like I had like unlocked, you know, like the true percentage, but it's like I get, you know, ideally I have to play like that throughout the rest of Top Cut if I want to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anybody has a shot of doing that, I think you certainly have the resume to support that. So, you know, best of luck moving forwards in Top Cut. We have another round 14 match coming up on stream, so you should have a little bit of time to reset, maybe take a nap or something.
I'm gonna just listen to some music, drink some water, and think about my future opponents. But it's so nice to see you again, Gabby.
I know, it's so nice to see you too, Aaron, and hopefully we'll have some more conversations in the future. But
for sure.
Until then, we'll be taking a break as we get our next round 14 match set up to go. So thank you for watching, everybody. We'll be right back.